and welcome to Be My Guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lyr Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary. And my special guest today, as you know, I've been interviewing many members of Coimisiún le Rinci Gaelacha, Irish dancing teachers and adjudicators from all over the world. And one of those very special people is Mona Roddy. Mona Roddy from Dundalk. Hi, Mona.
How are you, Mary? How's it going?
I'm very well. Can I just ask before we start, are all the Roddies related?
Not the Derry Roddies. Frankie, God be good to him, and John, they're not related to us. But I have a brother, Tony.
Yeah, my cousins danced in Tony's age group.
Yeah, I have a sister, Maura. And I have a sister, Maura, who doesn't dance now. She did it a bit when she was younger.
Yeah.
I have my brother, and then I have a cousin, a first cousin, Bertie Roddy, who lives in England.
No, Bertie.
That's, yeah. So that's the, and then of course there's my nephew, Pat.
Pat, yeah.
And his sister, Niamh.
It's an unusual name. You're the only family of Roddies that I've heard of. The two, and they're all in dancing. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's
there's a few Roddies around Dundalk, but a lot of them are connected, but some of them aren't. So there's a few families of Roddies around Dundalk now. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, Mona, how did you get involved in dancing? Because I'll tell you now, and I have them laid out for for when I'm putting the show together. Some absolutely spectacular photographs.
Oh, thanks very much.
I mean, really, you know, they're just absolutely beautiful. How did you start? How did you start in dancing? What brought you down the dancing route?
Well, my mum decided to put me into it, I suppose, when I was about 5.5, 6 years of age. You know, probably we would have gone into music at that time, as I said in the article, but music was out of the question because you had to have your piano or your violin or whatever. You had to have an instrument, and money was in short supply. So, as you know, was easily attainable. God bless the teachers. They were very patient and it was very reasonable. So that's how we ended up going to dancing.
Yeah, Danny was saying.
Mrs. Matthews would have taught us, and she was a fantastic teacher.
Danny was saying to me the same thing, that, you know, music was...
it was just out of the question.
Out of the question.
Yeah.
You know, and so you went to Mrs. Matthews.
Yeah. I went to Mrs. M, like really the start of dancing in Dundalk would have been a lady called Rosie Waters. And then it was whom I only met the woman very briefly once before she died. And then of course it was Tomás O'Farrelly, who was a native of Dundalk. Yeah, Tomás lived here.
I didn't.
He was a school teacher here in the Christian Brothers. And his sister Eileen McCormick, they were here in Dundalk, and my teacher learned from Tomás, and then she opened her own school, and herself and Monica Clarkin opened up their own schools at that time. Now there were a lot of teachers who followed them, but they were the first in my day.
And you went at that stage. It was all commission.
Oh yeah, commission. Yeah, I was not qualified. I was just finishing my career when the split came. Yeah. And very sad, but
I don't know. I didn't know anything. About it. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, we split, and the Cogall is now very strong as well. But you know, it's the same as a lot of organisations in this country. There seems to be splits in them all, but it was very traumatic, I suppose, at the time for teachers who were trying to make a decision to go one way or the other. But my teacher remained with CLRG, and for that, I was very grateful for that.
Oh God, yeah, I couldn't. I forget who I was saying it to. I couldn't imagine ever being with any other organisation. It's been
Yeah, no.
the only
Well, that,
organisation I've ever been in. But you just wondered why it had to split at all, because we're all trying to teach the one thing,
yeah,
which at our core, I suppose, is our culture.
that's right.
But you won so many. You won some amazing awards in your time through that.
Well, no, I mean, travel was very limited when we were dancing.
Yeah,
Money was short,
yeah.
travel was limited, and I suppose I would have. I won the Ulster Senior Ladies and the All Ireland Senior. I won the All Ireland 3 times.
It's a beautiful trophy.
Yeah, senior. Oh my God!
And I will be showing
A
it.
magnificent trophy.
My God, it was magnificent.
It's gone.
Is it?
Yeah, that's gone. It disappeared out of the commission office in Ennis, I think. So yeah, the Joe McGrath Cup.
I think
Yeah.
I heard about that, yeah.
Beautiful cup.
I've never seen anything like. Well, I have one now for Celine Penny at my fesh, which is a really good cup, but that I got from Danny. But I never saw anything like the cup that you won, and I have a photograph of it, and it'll be put in at this point.
Yeah, I have a couple of lovely photographs of it, and there's a good few people had the privilege of holding on to it. Then it was replaced by the Onyani Huhi Memorial Cup.
Yeah.
It would have been the Joe McGrath Cup was based on the Ardagh Chalice, which the Sam McGuire is based on it. So
that's what it
was a magnificent piece of silverware.
When I saw it, I thought that reminds me of the Ardagh Chalice.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was obviously that was what it was copied from. So
Jesus,
there you go, Mary. There you go.
It was absolutely, but you were, I suppose, an amazingly involved, if you like, family with Irish dancing down through the years. Because I mean, as I say, I got to know the name Roddy when I was competing and through my cousins and with Tony Roddy, and ever before I got to know you, Mona, I had heard the name Tony Roddy, because Adrian and Brendan would have always been talking about Danny Armstrong and Tony Roddy, because they would have been in their, respective age groups and that. And it's really a family, a dynasty, if you like.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is, I suppose. When we were dancing, it was all we had. We grew up with dancing. It was a great hobby in our day growing up, because there wasn't much money around to do many other things. So we were very involved from day one in the dancing, and it really lit up a period in our lives, especially when we were older. Tony and myself were still dancing. Maura had retired out of it, and it lit up a very dark period in our lives. When my father died, he died when he was very, very young, and it was great for my mom because she had somewhere to go with us, and she became very involved. She loved it. She loved going to the feshes, especially going to Dublin to the All Ireland, and staying in Paris Hotel, and sure, she had a great old time for herself. And she loved it. She just loved it. So it was, it brought up. It was a great outlet for us, and I'm really very grateful that I had the opportunity to do that when I was young. And I mean, I've been all over the world with Irish dancing.
You have indeed. But I going up to the Mansion House and that for the World Championships, and God love, when I think back on my own mother, okay, I was an only child, but my dad lived in England till I was 14. So there was just my mum and myself, and she had half his wages because he gave half his wages up to his mother in England.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get a job here in Ireland. He wasn't Irish, but until I was 14. But they'd go up to Dublin. They'd stay in the Gresham. My mother and her friend and myself, and I think we had one room. The thing was,
we wouldn't have had too much space in any of the rooms.
No. And but you had the name of staying in the Gresham.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it was done for the All Ireland. It was done for the world, and it was just a break away. And
yeah,
it
was fantastic. And they were lean times. It was great. It was great.
And but how have you seen? What changes have you seen for the good and for the bad in dancing overall?
There are a lot of changes now. I mean, within the actual dancing itself, it's become much more athletic, much more balletic, and it's very. I mean, there is emphasis on rhythm, but there's an awful lot of emphasis on balletic and on on the athletic aspect. And I would have to say that's my beloved teacher there.
Yeah,
she was a great Elskin. But
the gorgeous photograph of you, Mona.
That was the Ulster Championship, and that was very special at the time,
Even again, where is that tiara gone to?
Oh no, that tiara is still there.
No, and do they still use that tiara at the Ulsters?
No, we don't use it now, but it is still there. It's still there. Tiara. Yeah, it was a lovely tiara. Actually, a very special moment for me was when Ciara won it before she retired. It's lovely to have her wearing the same one. But what I was going to say to you there was, like, with the onset of Riverdance and Lord of the Dance, that changed a lot of the style of dancing. I feel, people became, our style has differed. And dancing has become, I mean, very, very athletic and very balletic as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the good and sometimes not for the good.
Do you think it's for the good, or do you yearn for a kind of to bring the past in some way?
I love great rhythm. I love great rhythm. Yeah. I do love that. And but I don't think, and I think all of that is progress, just as long as we don't go too far beyond the tradition, the actual tradition.
That's it,
that never changes. I mean, the basics, the turnout, the role of the rhythm, the placement of the feet, the timing, all those things are so important. And that to me is the essence of Irish dancing.
Yeah. Rhythm
and timing.
Rhythm and feet, rhythm, timing, and feet. I mean, they're the basics. And do I mean, I suppose people are feeling that COVID-19 has had positive and negative effects on dancing teachers. How has it been for you, Mona?
Well, I think it has had negative effects on people because they can't get out and do what they're doing all the time. And, the teachers can't get really, well, it's starting to open up now a bit, but it has been a hard time for a lot of people. And I suppose older people like myself would say that it hasn't been easy, but we're very, very blessed where I live. The weather was fabulous. And, during April and May, Mary, when we really needed the good weather, it was wonderful, So, I mean, we were able to get out for walks, even right through lockdown, because we live on a very quiet road here. And so it was great. It was fantastic.
I was talking to Gavin there earlier, and he was saying it helped him to reevaluate an awful lot of things.
Absolutely. It certainly was a big leveler for a lot of us. And I believe that it was God's way of telling us who's boss. So I do believe that. The good Lord said, listen, guys, you need to cop yourselves on and think of the good things in life.
You got to know your husband.
Exactly. And my husband reminded me that I got to know him a bit better.
Did it? That's always a positive, because
absolutely a positive.
It's a lovely wedding.
He's tortured with me so all these years. So I got to know him a bit better.
I have some lovely photographs as well for
we're actually I'm 50 years teaching this year, thanks be to God. God has been very good to me. But we're 50 years married next year, so everything we'll celebrate, please God, we'll celebrate royally next year, if God spares us.
That's it. Yeah, and you have to. That's an amazing photograph. I
Yeah,
love.
that's at St. Patrick's in Dundalk. Those costumes, to be honest, Mary, were the bane of my life. But that's a Gaelacha.
But they look.
They were the bane of my life. Oh my
But
God.
I think
Well, there were no dressmakers in town, so I had to go traveling, and oh dear God, to try and get any shape on them. And they were pretty basic, but we've never changed the colour. The colour remains the same,
always
and
red.
the colours are the same. We have red and black and white, which is a combination of red and white for Louth and red and black for Dundalk. So
Is that
we have,
where your combination came from?
yeah,
Yeah, it's very vibrant now. It's much more vibrant now.
Yeah, I will know. I mean, my teacher's costume was lavender, and I would never have the purple, the famous purple. I just could never copy that. So
that was the color of my solo costume.
Yeah.
Was my mother? It was all to purple and cream, and it was just the two colors because I was so small. Mom wanted cream on the purple and purple on the cream. But we had a woman. We were lucky. There was a friend of ours who was a tailor, and she used to make them. But and then of course Eugene O'Brien's mother. Eugene O'Brien's mother used to do all the embroidery.
Yeah, well, my mum used to make the socks, knit the socks for the lads in Miss M's class. My mum did that, and if she couldn't get the wool the right color, she would dye it. So that's what we used to do.
Yeah. But I mean, we were lucky, I suppose. We had Todds in Limerick at the time, or Switzers, and I remember my mum going up on the train to Dublin because they were short one scheme of the cream.
Yeah.
In Todds. And
no, we would have had a very good place here in Dundalk where we could get embroidery threads. So we could do that.
One little bit of thread for the costume.
That's what we did, Mary. That's what we did.
You did it for the love of it. What was I going to say? Then your daughters, of course, they went completely into it as well.
They did indeed. Yeah, Ciara and Dervla. Well, they're the lifeblood of the school, really. Those two girls are teaching from they could walk. They were teaching in the school from the minute they could teach a step, they were teaching it, and they've been like that all their lives. Although they were away, Dervla went first. She went with Lord of the Dance first, and then when Ciara finished college, she went with Lord of the Dance. So they had a good old time for themselves too. Yeah, they really did. Ciara, Dervla went the minute she did her leaving cert. No, she did 1 year in DCU, and then she said she really wanted to go with the show. So she went with it and came back then and went back to college. Ciara did college. She went to Trinity first and she finished her college, and she also works. She's in the front line at the minute working with the HSE, and she finished and then she went off. As the fellow would say, they ran away with the circus. But they had a great old time for themselves in Lord of the Dance.
How important do you think that, because we always knew, Mona, I think we always knew how fabulous, I mean, Irish dancing was everything to me, because when you're an only child and you've come from England and you've only ever been around adults, and suddenly you're going to some place where there's children your own age, and suddenly I had friends. And I had my friends who I still have. They're still my friends since I was 5. But you go to dancing, and it's always special. It's part of you. It's your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's there for you in the worst of times, and it's there for you in the best of times. And you can walk away from it for a couple of months or a year, and you can walk back in, and you're as addicted again as you were when you left. It just drags you in. But
I couldn't honestly say I ever walked away from it. It's been a part of my life for 50 years.
Well,
I did probably have to get less involved for a while when the children were born. I mean, I have three. I have Aidan as well. I have a son who is a great fiddle player, and he did a bit of Cayley dancing as well. Never got involved in. Actually, I must tell you, they won the Cayley Club competition at the All-Ireland this year. Aidan was in the team, so that was mighty crack altogether.
You must have been delighted.
Oh my God, it was brilliant because we had, all the family were there. Well, Ciara had gone home, but everybody was there, including Brian, my husband, and we just had a great day. It was a great day and very unexpected.
How does Brian kind of, I suppose he's there left of camera, but how does Brian kind of settle in with, he obviously had to marry into Irish dancing as well as marrying into...
I'd say a nightmare, really, to be honest, because he was never involved in dancing. We met through the Musical Society. We met through Our Lady's Musical Society. The two of us were very interested in the musicals, and we were involved in that for years. And like Brian is still involved in choirs, although there's no choirs now, but he is still involved. And that's how we met, through singing.
Does he know the choir?
Way out, Mary, you know, I wouldn't have been allowed outside the door when I was a youngster growing up.
I thought it was with Brian.
It was, it was Our Lady's Musical Society. That was good enough for my mother because it was a very holy episode.
Sure.
So I was allowed out. So that's where I met Brian.
She might have left you out if she thought that you were going to meet a boy.
No. I was never allowed outside the door other than to dancing and school. That was it. We were all the same.
And that's the way it was.
It was, yeah. That was the way it was.
And do you know, when you look back on it, you actually appreciate them being like that?
Yeah. Well, nowadays it's completely different, and times have changed, and you know, the world is evolving in a totally different way. And then again, you know, I had the opportunity with, I really never won anything as a child, because I got sick when I was about 9, and I had TB. So I was out of dancing for a good 2 years. But when I came back, I was playing catch up. So I only really came into my own when I was more or less a young senior. And so I went on to do all right then. But I also became involved. I was always involved in Comhaltas.
Yeah.
Comhaltas, and so I had great times, like in Comhaltas, you know. I went on tour with them. That was the Riverdance of our time. Or
was Laura Muraku involved?
Yeah, and that was brilliant, you know. And the Lord of Mercy and Dundalk, like I danced with him in.
Lovely dancer.
Yeah, fine chap. And, you know, I had great times in Comhaltas with the late, God be good, to Rory Kennedy, Brendan Cochran, John Joe Gardner, all those lovely people who lived in Dundalk. We had fabulous music here.
I grew up watching Donegal Muinachon dancing with
Lean.
And do you know, I mean, my mum was so much into fashion and so much into costumes and everything like that. And she'd be looking at Celine's shoes. And I have this vision of my mother always looking at Celine's high heels, and
high heel shoes,
I had to do the Rocks and Cross Keys, and she was trying to figure out how she could actually design a pair of shoes for me for competition that would have a slight heel, because
it was more or less that was definitely non-competitive, I suppose. But yeah, I had great times with them, you know. And then I got married in 1971. I actually went to America in 74 and 75 with Comhaltas, and then I had to say cop on, you know. But I also went to Libya. Now that was an experience and a half.
I'd like you to tell me about that, because my best friend, when I came from England, and she's still my best friend to this day, Anne Redden, lived in Libya for over 30 years. Her husband's from Libya.
Well, I just went with Comhaltas, and it was a very strange experience. We went, I think it was Tripoli or somewhere we went to, but
that's where she's from.
Just, like 3,000 men in the audience and no women. No,
Weird.
It wasn't what you'd call. It was a very unique experience, but it wasn't one I'd be in a hurry to repeat. Do you know what I mean? It was wonderful to be able to do it.
Were you in Gaddafi's tent?
don't know.
no,
We
because
don't know. I don't know whether he was there or not, but there was 3,000 men at the concert and no women, and I thought we didn't see women on the streets or anything. You know, it was a very repressive sort of a time, I felt, and yeah, but it was good. It was a great experience.
Because Coimisiún, she went to Libya, and
that was with us.
Yeah, and she said that she was telling us about that trip when I was in Bunratty Castle, and she was talking about it, and she was talking about Gaddafi's tent or something, and that he was a strange man because he had a big palace, but he used to have this air conditioned and heated tent that it was called a tent, but apparently it was anything but a tent. It was so exotic inside it, and she was telling us about that, but she said it was frightening.
Yeah, I would have said that it was very strange, you know. But again, you know, that was another thing that I wouldn't have really gotten all that travel if I wasn't involved in Irish dancing and music. Do you know what I mean? I can't play an instrument. I used to love to sing, but that day is gone. And but I do love good traditional music and singing. And I have to say now, a very sad day for us was Nora Butler, God be good to her. Yeah. Nora died. That was sad. Yeah. Nora was with me in America, and so was Anne Mulqueen from Castleconnell. Anne was from Castleconnell in Limerick. I was with them in America in '74.
My producer, the guy here, Pat Barry, he just said, "Oh," when he heard you saying that. He obviously knew her.
Yeah. Nora was a fantastic singer, and Anne Mulqueen is a fantastic singer, beautiful traditional singers. But there are people I met and, you know, befriended, and during my career as a dancer, I was just very grateful for those opportunities.
But he's after bringing up a photograph of her over there now. Yeah, amazing. But I mean, you like me would have, I suppose, got the opportunity to travel before Riverdance came and before the youngsters. So, you know, I suppose not everyone got the opportunities to.
That's what I'm saying. Like
all this travel, I got it through Bunratty, and when I went with Celine Penny to Germany in 1981. La Rosa Moracu was there with Coltus, and I was there with Celine, and that was hilarious.
But, I mean, that's a lucky break, because we never would have we just didn't have the money. There was no money for holidays, you know. And I mean, I suppose that's the dancing was brilliant for that. I also took groups to Lorient, to the festival, and to Nantes, and a few places like that. You know, to festivals. I went to Galicia in Spain with them as well, our own gang.
Yeah.
But like with Coltus, I would always be grateful to Coltus for those breaks that I got at that time.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I wasn't ever with Coltus, but I was.
With Bunratty.
You know, I did know La Rosa Moracu through Celine Penny, because I was doing my TC at the time, TCRG, and Celine said, you know, Celine suggested, you know, she said to me one day, "Why don't you do your teachers?" I was in just after going into Bunratty, and I was there for 14 years. So I was out of the competition scene for the 14 years, but I was in the show scene. But so then Riverdance was just this amazing. You know, how important do you think it was for?
Just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. I mean, it was unbelievable when it broke on the international stage. It brought Irish dancing to the international stage, because it taught people to appreciate what Irish dancing was, even though I always
did
it as best I could. But, you know, I feel that Riverdance and Lord of the Dance and all those other shows subsequently following, you know, dancers can now, or could up until COVID, dancers could earn a living out of Irish dancing. That was not the case in my day or in your day, very little anyway. I think we got the princely sum of £70 when we were going to America on the Cultus tour. But sure, money wasn't the issue. We just went. But it was brilliant. I mean,
we were that bit better now because Shannon Development paid us our wages, and Fáilte paid us bought our flights, and then they paid us.
Our flights were paid.
Yeah, and then they paid for our food, and so we thought we were flush. We thought we were flush anyway, but with money.
With ourselves, I mean, it was a fantastic time, really. Really, I mean, it was just amazing at the time when we were heading to Cultus. But with Cultus, we stayed in people's homes. You know, we went to America and we stayed with supporters of Cultus. There were no hotel bills, other than once when we went into Ottawa. The first time Cultus ever went into Ottawa was probably 74, and I think that was the time. And we did stay in a hotel for a couple of days there. That was the first time that, well, I believe that was the first time that now I don't know what they do now, but that's what they did then.
Yeah, well, I remember, well, we went with Bunratty loads of places, you know, different every year. We were lucky. We were the era that in Bunratty that actually got to travel to all these countries, and you do 11 cities in Germany, in East Germany, and 11 cities in West Germany the following year, and you got to do all this traveling, and then it stopped because the money ran out. The money ran out, and the company changed, and the entertainers never got there. They didn't actually.
I actually had a friend, but she knew Cott very well. One of my best friends here in Dundalk, Anne Carroll, worked in Bunratty for years.
I know that. I was there from 81 to 94. 94.
Yeah, well,
I left when my parents died, so
she was there probably at that. I don't know, was she there? Anne Carroll was her name, and she is a very dear friend of mine here in Dundalk. She sang with the Bunratty Singers, and she knew Koch very well.
Yeah, Coit was there forever.
Yeah.
Coit was, I think, Coit was there absolutely forever. Sure, I've known Coit since competitions.
Yeah.
You know, and she playing the.
I mean, she was a wonderful lady, lovely lady.
Great musician.
Yeah, beautiful.
I mean, an absolutely beautiful musician. But what has been, I suppose, your best experience? Your daughters now, Dervla went on then to actually work on Jig Gig.
She did work with Dervla worked in RTE. She was a producer there before she left because she did the afternoon show, and then when she got married, that show was, it was seasonal. So by the time she got married, and then she was expecting her first child nearly straight away. So, and by the time she had Ferdia, then it was axed.
The gorgeous name.
Yeah, Ferdia. Ferdia and Leodhan, that's her boy. And then Ciara has Christine and Alton.
Alton, fabulous.
And Aidan has, my son has Katie and Oisin. They're his
great Irish names.
Yeah, no, lovely names. Yeah, they are.
No, really.
Yeah, Dervla did a lot of work with Jig Gig as well, and she did other programs with RTE, but she mostly worked with the afternoon show. And but she's now teaching dancing full time.
Is she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
And you embraced the language as well.
Yeah. Well, both the girls went to the Gael School here, and they loved it. And they had all their education up to 3rd level through Irish. Both of them.
Must have been difficult for them then processing, because my cousin.
They grew up with it, and it was easy. It came naturally to them.
No, but
when Irish in DCU in that first year.
Yeah.
Then she didn't stay on. She went on with the show and came back after the show was finished. After she finished her time in Lord of the Dance, she came back and went to college then.
So what did Dervla study in DCU?
Languages and communication.
DCU, so. But what is your biggest, do you think that, I suppose, your biggest achievement or your biggest joy in dancing was?
Well, I loved the teaching. I suppose the biggest moment for me as a dancer was the year that in 1967, I won the All Ireland in '66, and then that was just that was a hard one because my father had just passed away, and I always felt he didn't believe that I could do it, and so for him I was delighted I won it that day. But in '67 I won the senior. My brother won the junior All Ireland, and I won the senior on the same day. So that was lovely, and that was special for me. Yeah, I mean, for kids winning, it's wonderful when children do succeed. But at the end of the day, you have more children that are not champions than you have champions, and you really have to be very thankful for those kids in your class. Yeah. And you have to remember that they're paying exactly the same money that the champions pay. Yeah. So, I think it's very important to be fair and good to all of them. I think it's, that's how I would feel. I suppose teaching kids, I love teams. I love teams. Yeah. And the hardest thing now at the moment is no teams. That's very, very difficult. We have been able to go back to teaching solo with social distancing and everything in place, the sanitization, the masks, the whole 9 yards. But the teams, that's the saddest thing, that we can't actually get kids to hold hands or, to me now that's very sad. But so hopefully, Mary, that's what I would be praying to God, that we'll be able to get back to that.
Yeah. Have you used Zoom for anything?
We Zoomed until all was no more. I have to say now, I would be a liar to tell you that I did a lot of Zooming, but when I tell you I have two walking saints, the two girls, how they were able to do it, I do not know. And they're still doing it, but they are working face-to-face now with the children.
Yeah, Jimmy Smith, I found myself asking the question. I said, Jimmy, I know I'm after asking you that question. And as the words were coming out of my mouth, I was saying to myself, Mary, why are you asking Jimmy? Because he had to get his daughter to show him how to set up the computer. And he said he could teach, he said, for 14 hours a day, nonstop with the children. He's just so excited to have them back in the room with him, he said, and it doesn't matter, he said, if they can't dance or not, just to have
that the face-to-face, there is no comparison. I have to agree with him there now. God almighty, it was hard. Yeah, I empathize.
Yeah, he didn't use Zoom at all, and Terry was saying Zoom doesn't work for him because he likes to keep moving with them and getting. Philip likes to drill.
It's absolutely very difficult for any teacher to try and, but needs must. And I have to say, the two lassies did a great job on the Zoom. They did a great job keeping the kids, their spirits up, and it was, keeping the thing going for them. We actually had a virtual World Championships every single day of the world, when it should have been whatever. The kids danced in their own homes, and we all Zoomed, and it was quite emotional actually, but that's what they did.
That's a lovely idea.
Yeah, they did that for the whole time, and it was lovely now looking at them. It was so sad looking at them in their own homes doing their own part of the high call cap or the trip to the cottage or whatever it was, but they all did it anyway. And
do you notice that there's an attention? A lot of the teachers have said to me that they found that the children have gone back now, and they're starting to focus more on less about the steps and less about remembering things and more about the basics and getting everything right. So maybe this time out will have focused their attention on concentrating on the little details. And
the basics, Mary, the basics never change. The basics never change. And I would always say that. The basic things in Irish dancing do not change. The turnout, the placement, the timing, the rhythm, you know, those things do not change. And no matter what they're doing, they have to remember that.
And if you can, and you know, people, you know, you could be dazzled with children doing all these magical things and toe work and movement and constantly moving. But if you're somebody that loves good basics, you're able to see through that. And you know, timing is just so important.
That's what dancing is about, is timing.
But it's difficult to judge a child on Zoom with the timing, because we were even saying it sometimes the music.
There's a delay. Yeah, no, well, I don't think I could do it now. I do not think I could judge a child on Zoom, because I think there is that delay, and you don't know whether it's the child or is it the music. Is it whose fault is it that the timing's off? So that I would find that very.
I saw the most beautiful photograph of you, I have to say. I was looking at it for about 10 minutes, and I thought, oh, isn't it just gorgeous? And it's the little one of you when you were born, when in your mother and father's arms.
All right, yeah. God, that's a long time ago.
Mona,
that is a very long time ago.
You're like a little doll.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, some doll, Mary. Some doll now.
Tiny.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think she said.
You just looked like a little doll. I was looking at it and I was thinking, oh my God, she's so tiny in it.
I suppose that's over 70, well over 70 years ago, Mary. That's almost 74 years ago now.
Mona, you truly you don't look.
Well, sure, that's the bottom line. Everybody knows what age I am.
But the thing about it is, I think I think any form of activity keeps people young, because they either have to stay young for the children that they're teaching, or it's just that they don't have time to start feeling.
I think it just keeps us going, and it's a great interest. It's a wonderful interest. I mean, I'm very grateful for it. I'm also very grateful for the fact that I had Brian was very good. He was very tolerant, and he allowed me to teach to my heart's content. Even though I had 3 small children, it was not easy. But I am very grateful for the opportunities that I was afforded by.
But it's a great business to be in as well, when you have children, because you don't have to give your child over to a babysitter. You can bring your child to class. The child grows up learning from everybody else, and you become a really close-knit family as a result.
Well, it's
you know, and it's safe. It's a safe.
We couldn't have afforded to have babysitters either, I suppose, at the time, you know, so it was good to have them with us at that time. Do you know what I mean? But sure, I mean, it wouldn't have been dancing, definitely. I probably, had I done my business the way some people wanted me to do it, I probably would have. I worked with Unislim. Unislim is a well-known slimming organisation.
I'm with Slimming World. I lost 2.5 stone with it.
Good woman. Well, I would have to promote Unislim, because that's where I worked for 25 years. And I probably would have made a lot more money working with Unislim than I did working with Irish dancing. But I wasn't in Irish dancing for the money. I can assure you of that. But that certainly wasn't a big paying job. But I would have taught for nothing. Once I'd see a bit of talent, I would be completely sold on it.
But
and I did do that. I did teach for nothing for a long time. But I have to say, I wouldn't change it.
It's gone very kind of, it's gone really very business orientated now in a lot of cases, compared to what it was when we were going to, or I was going to dance.
Oh, absolutely.
Going to dancing. You know, I mean, even me, there were times there when I just went out to the hall and didn't get paid, because nobody had the money, or one or two of the parents had lost their jobs, and you know, and you'd let it on, you'd end up paying for the hall. And I'd envy people who you think are making money out of it. You'd be saying, oh, you know, but I don't think anyone makes money out of it, because I think we all do the same thing at some stage.
I guess it should be a business. It was never a business with me.
No.
Never, ever. As I said, Unislim was a business, and I could have made a very lucrative income from Unislim. I still have a great relationship with the founder of Unislim, and
I did Unislim as well, and I found it great. But I found Unislim great.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, they were the first Irish organisation really in this country, Unislim. Like, that's going back 50 years now nearly, and they did put organisations like this on the map. You know, Weight Watchers is a big international organisation, and Slimming World is quite big as well,
yeah,
in this country and in England. So, you know, Irish Unislim was Irish.
Yeah. Well, the only reason there's Slimming World was just 5 minutes from my house, so I went. I needed to lose weight, and I wanted to do it where I wasn't having to measure things. Yeah. And you know, because I thought, oh, if I have to measure it, I'm not going to eat. I'm just going to eat anything. But Mona, you've been wonderful. And Brian has been your producer there, and he's been.
Brian is the rock of this house. That's what he is. He helps me. He helps me to set up, and he helps me with everything. But he's the rock. He helps the girls. He helped us to sort out our stage. He helped us with our social distancing. He helped us with everything. So we just wouldn't be where we are without him.
Isn't it amazing that, you know, I mean, I look at a friend of mine in dancing, Maureen Farrelly, and she's got an amazing Andy as well. Not a clue about dancing, but went everywhere. And he'd be talking to people inside the bar, and you'd go over and you'd say, did you know that man? And he never even, probably just started talking about Cork hurling or something like that. And they were able to slot in, and you didn't have to babysit them or worry about how am I going to keep them occupied like a 4-year.
Brian would never come. He really didn't come to many fashions, you know, in the last while. He came when the kids were younger, but not in the last while, because he didn't need to. But I would never inflict that on him. He just, that would be, but he was
Maureen O'Rourke, Jack.
Jack.
Brian, I mean,
Maureen and Jack, and they're 55 years married now. God bless them. Brilliant people.
My teacher, and like, do you know, Jack O'Brien was as much part of the school as
fantastic man, fantastic.
I
would have a great
I love
great fondness for them, and for Anthony and Rosa. You have some fine icons of Irish dancing in the Limerick area. My God,
more or the Tony and Rose,
and Maureen, and you know,
and Anya Lord Rester, and you know. But I mean, Mona, thank you so much for coming on. I know you've given an hour of your time, and Brian has, and he can have you back now.
No bother, Mary. Thanks very much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. He must be delighted to have you all to himself.
He'd be delighted for me to be off the computer.
You're sharing the computer. I forgot about that. Thanks ever so much, Mona.
God bless you.
God bless. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Four in Dundalk for many years in this activity, and we have a quartet now, including Brendan Cochran on piano, drawn from a version of the band in May 1984, and playing for 4 Dundalk step dancers: Mona Lennon, Frances Curley, Bertie Roddy and Carol Levy.